Now, after Nera, there was a change of leadership of the IG. I think that's an important event too that happened, because with the change of personnel, I think there was also a change of either mentality or focus. Tell me, what do you think happened with that change?
Well, when change happens, things are bound to change, as they say. But the struggle found itself wanting with the new leadership, because some of the things that had already been put in place, that were already working, they saw no need to
maintain them.
I mean, Sako was coming as an undersecretary of Foreign Affairs, and he came and said Sisiku had focused so much on diplomacy, and he was not going to focus on diplomacy. He was going to do something about homeland security and stuff. So there was a lot of back and forth. But as you know, when something like that happens, people sometimes grow attached to certain individuals. What I'm saying is that it was very difficult for him to fill the shoes of Sisiku, because Sisiku had left an impact on the struggle and on the minds of the people. So it was difficult to walk into those shoes. But he himself did not make things easy for himself, because if he had just tried to walk within what was already in place and try to build things up, maybe things would have been easy, But trying to undo everything so that you can have your own stamp created enormous problems for him and for the struggle, because we just went through the summer. If you want to look at the summer of the previous summer and this summer, you can see the difference.
Oh, it's like night and day.
Yeah, you can see. So those are the things that we are saying. We now know that our leaders have been captured. We don't know where they were. There was no planning. So you saw a leadership that was only reactionary. They were not proactive. We knew that these things were happening. These people were captured in January. So you would think that the leadership would right away get on demonstrating in the Nigerian embassies. It was South Africa that started that lead. We saw South Africa at the Nigerian embassy in Johannesburg. So the leadership that came in did not step up the game, because now our people have been abducted. It was time not only for us to intensify the protest, besides all other things that we're doing, we can completely abandon that. So the whole of summer went without anything. There was no demonstrations, maybe a few in Europe, nothing in America, and Nigeria was left to go scot-free. And as I said, if you compare the previous year, September 22nd came, we did something just lackluster because people didn't think about it, they didn't plan on it. And as we are saying, January 5th is coming, which is the day that Sisiku was abducted. It is just now, the last week of December, that we are thinking of doing something on that day.
Yes.
So those are the kind of things that we are talking about, that the new leadership that is in place is kind of reactionary and not being proactive and giving people the right information, giving them time to process and act on it. So it is, when leadership is lacking in a struggle like ours, it almost paralyzes the struggle. That's all what I'm trying to say.
Yes, and I'm going to give this to Sako. I'm going to give this to Sako in the sense that filling the shoes that Sisiku left was a difficult thing. But I think where Sako went, where he made some errors, was that he came and wanted to dismantle the structures that had been built. It's a difficult job to recreate everything from ground zero. I think you can come in and definitely sell your vision and have the veterans in the struggle buy that vision. But when you come and say, I'm going to bring a different vision and everybody should get out, I'm going to reinvent the wheel, it's a tall undertaking. And I think that within a very short time that became very obvious to us, because it didn't take long for us to see that he was going astray. And but I'm going to say this: they haven't gone astray. I think he's come full circle, because I'm seeing him going back to. That's a rumor. It hasn't been articulated. I've seen him go around a circle, and he's now beginning to realize that it was a mistake. And I'm saying that because, you know, when they first mentioned the idea of scope, he trashed it. Then I heard Chris Anu the other day saying how, we succeeded at the UN, everybody was working hard, scope did a good job, and I'm like, can you say that again? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, you see, and that is part of what has been very discouraging in this struggle. Because as you know from the communication, because you talked about scope, so I want to use that as an example. From the communications that we know and that we have now seen open in open air, these guys, before they constituted this scope, they contacted him. But he came to the people and denied it. So when you do that as a leader, you create, people don't know what to believe. Remember, we are in a time where things are moving very, very fast.
Very fast, yes.
So instead of empowering people, you create doubt in people's minds. And then you hear people tell you, okay, I don't even know what to believe now. I don't know what to turn. I don't know where to turn.
Yes.
What do I do? You know, so in doing that, because you say things in private, and even when people say things, when you go in public, you say something else. And it is, I mean, it's kind of, it's not good to try to counteract people, you know, and say, you just said this the other day and now you're saying this.
Yes.
It doesn't look good.
And that is that lack of focus I was talking about. And you know, it cost the struggle not only in missed opportunities but also in financial cost. I mean, we're running 2 televisions for the struggle now, right? So instead of spending, let me just pick an amount. Instead of spending $12,000 a month, we're spending 24.
Yeah.
So that's what the change of. So we had that change of leadership and change of personnel, and obviously. Let me ask you this: can you count the successes of this change of administration this year? You just talked about last summer. We can say how Sisiku went around and made the whole struggle become like a rock concert for all our people. So, well, any accomplishments for this for the people who took over?
Yeah, well, you can give them that idea of that my trip to Buea that they conceived, because it was a good rallying point for people. No matter how it was executed, but people found something to hang on to. You know,
when people think of my trip to Buea, I don't think they think of it as an accomplishment.
No. See, you remember that we always say that in every cloud there is a silver lining, right? I am looking at.
Tell me the silver lining.
Yes,
I want to hear one.
The silver lining is that was a good idea. That was a good idea, and the person that came up with that idea, it was not executed in the way it was described how it was conceived. At least because I had the preview of talking to that person.
Yes,
when he conceived this idea, that idea was supposed to give people a stake in the struggle. So you buy your trip. You have an identification number, and that identification number can keep a record of you until we get to Buea. Well, it ended up happening that it was not designed, and all those infrastructure was not put in place.
Okay, so that's not an accomplishment.
Listen now, we ended up going just after the money. The accomplishment is what? It kept, remember that we are just talking about our people having been abducted.
Yes.
And the pain and the lack of focus that came with that for the struggle. Then now we found something. Now, as he is struggling to fill Sisiku's shoes, he finds something that he can bring up and keep the people to look up to attach themselves to, and keep that train going. So that is what I'm saying. So the idea of my trip to Boya, it was a very good concept. It brought people, did fundraisings, did all kinds of stuff for that purpose. So anything that keeps the struggle in people's minds, that keeps it. Do you know the kind of fear that it created in La Republic? It created a lot of.
Okay.
Remember what?
I get it. What you're saying is that my trip to Boya gave something for our people to focus on.
Yes.
I'll tell you what I think the contribution of this new people were. Okay? I'll tell you what it was. I think what they brought to our people is that it gave our people the consciousness that it's not everybody who can step in and be right. And so next time they're going to be more careful about who fills the shoes. And as I have said many times, the reason why you get a Sisiku and then somehow that ended up in Washington D.C. to Saku and Chris Anu is because we don't have we're not working within a movement. We're working within what is called a government, and in Sisiku's time, anybody who was an Ambazonian could be appointed, because if you go and search, because sometimes when we blame Saku and some of the people around him, these are people who you never heard about them in the struggle. So these are people who came in with a lot of, with no experience. And so they could have really meant well, but there were people who don't have it, and there was no process to filter out people like that. And so what I keep talking about movements is because you talked about the SCNC the other day. If you go to the SCNC, you will see that they know who is who, they know who does what, they know who knows what, and so by the time they put you in a position, you have a long record behind you. So that's what I'm hoping, that our people can look at this experience and learn how to restructure the struggle going forward, because we don't know when this struggle would end. And so we need to be able to learn from this and have a better process of how we select the people who serve us. They should be people who we know.
Well, I just gave you one. So the other thing is that it fractured the struggle, and that the struggle is still to recover from that fracture, because like I said, they have not done any good job of bringing people together. They exiled people from the struggle. They said these people cannot be part of the struggle because they have not been accountable. And
they did that using a lie. That's what was not correct about it. We just have to call it the way it is.
Yeah. So it is still, all those things are still there, and they are still impacting the struggle. So and when we say these things, sometimes people from back home, they say, "Oh, you people just have something against this." No, we are looking at, because when you raise your hand that you are going to serve, even if you are not capable, you have to ask questions, because every single time you have to put the struggle before any other thing.
I was going to say that people who question our take on the IG should understand that the price is not the IG, it's not Sisiku, it's not you, it's not me. The price is our liberty. And like you said, Sisiku said it right, that it's not me, if I fall, continue. You know what I'm saying? So if we focus on the struggle instead of individuals, then what happens is that we can even help the individuals by saying, look at this, how does this help? And then they will reconsider their decisions.
Yeah, and you see, you just said something very, very important. Because if I always tell people that if somebody does not care about you, he will not bother whatever you do, because you can be going somewhere, he knows that where you are going,
you'll get hurt.
Yeah, you're going to get hurt, and you just say, "Hey, it's not
keep
my
going. It's not my business."
Yes. So the people who actually come and question and critique you and do all these things. They want you to be better,
to be successful. Yes.
Yes, because if you listen to them, don't just say, oh, it's coming from those people who don't like me. Yeah, those people might not like you, but sometimes you have to be able to say, take a step back and look at, okay, what do I need to improve here?
Yes.
Because I have a responsibility to make sure that this thing is successful. Let this thing not fall on my hands.
Yes.
So,
yes.
and I don't know if that has been...
In customer service, you're trained that your most demanding customers are the people who love the services that you provide, and they're demanding because they want to remain your customers, because they always have an alternative to go to your competitor.